Hello, everyone. Welcome back inside Central Health Training Center for another episode of Broncos Now. As always, I'm your host, Sydney Jones. And coming up on today's episode, we'll hear from head coach Sean Payton and several players as they take a look back at Sunday's win. Plus, Broncos lead writer Eric Dellala joins the show for a game recap. All that and more coming up. The Broncos are coming off their first win of the season. We heard from head coach Sean Payton today following Sunday's 31-28 win over the Bears, and he detailed what he liked about Russell Wilson's performance.
Yeah, he's one of those guys that, a lot like Drew in this way, they kind of saw the game and the world and the work and the journey as glass half full, upbeat, and, at a time when you're down 21 points, that momentum can swing very quickly, and he was certainly, feeling that confidence that, hey, just get us the ball, here we go. And I think that's somewhat contagious.
The Broncos have seen success early on in their games this season. In 3 of the past 4 games, Denver has scored on their opening drives. And head coach Sean Payton talked today about that and what's led to that success.
We put together a list of 12 to 15 openers. Depending on the opponent, you try to get a few personnel groupings in, see how they're going to handle certain groups, see how they're going to handle certain plays. Yesterday, it was apparent right away. We were going to get a lot more cover 2. We thought that might be the case with some of the injuries they've had. And then it was just, making enough plays. The screen pass in third down was a big play by Jaleel and Russ, and it was well blocked.
Coach Payton also talked about running back Jaleel McLaughlin's impact on Sunday and his role.
Let's talk about Jaleel. He played really well. He's one of the guys that got a game ball this morning. He was explosive in the run and the pass. He gave us some juice, and so we'll continue to look at his role.
Jaleel McLaughlin received a game ball following Sunday's win, and today we heard him talk about his touchdown versus the Bears.
For one, Coach was preaching to me all week, patience. Patience on these screens, patience on these screens. So I was just trying to let everything develop. Quinn got out there and he made a awesome block, on the linebacker, and it's just patience, just believing, that it's going to open up. And, like I said, Quinn went out there and, threw his body and did an awesome job. And, he opened it up for sure. But just really just being patient and letting everything develop. Like I said, those guys make it easy for me.
Plus, head coach Sean Payton went on to talk about the adjustments he saw from this defense in the second half.
Well, I think we struggled fitting the run in the first half. They had 170 yards rushing. Their 2 top targets throughout the season ended up with big numbers, Moore and Kmet. But we were able to fit the run better. I think that noticeably helped. We got off the field on third down.
Defensive end Zach Allen added to that by detailing what this defense needs to do moving forward.
Yeah, we have the talent and we have the players. It's just a matter of us just executing better, like I said earlier. So, we saw flashes of it in the second half. When we do it right, we play at an elite level, and we just have to continue working it.
Overall, Coach Payton's message to the team was not to be content and to continue to play with urgency.
And I said this to the team just 15 minutes ago. I said, look, I'm encouraged that we fought back into that game. I said, but man, let's not finish today. All right, when we're done watching this tape and feel like that we're content at all with how we played. Too many things that still are disappointing, or things that we have to clean up. And the same thing offensively. We stalled there for a period of, after the first touchdown, we went a third of the game struggling. But that sense of urgency has to exist again this week. We're going to play against a lot better teams here in the next month and a half.
Now joining me here inside the Broncos podcast studio for a game recap is Broncos lead writer Eric Dellala. Eric, thanks for joining me today. First win of the season here.
Yeah, it was a good comeback, right? It was looked a little dire there midway through the third quarter, but credit to this team. They fought. They, as Sean Payton said after the game, had every opportunity, could have given in and just kind of fallen to 0-4, but they fought back. A nice comeback. Offense, defense, special teams all played complementary football. And like you said, first win of the year.
Yep, we were definitely on the edge of our seats in the press box. The Broncos tied for the second largest comeback on the road in team history. So pretty nice little fun fact there.
Yeah, it was. Listen, it got to a place where like I said, it didn't look so great, but a couple of touchdowns in a row by the offense. Defense gets a big stop, then gets the scoop and score. And of course, the 4th and 1 stop toward the end of the game was really critical. Without that, the Bears probably milked the clock down and could potentially kick a field goal going away. So we talk all the time, right, Sid, about these game-altering plays, as Russell Wilson likes to call them, these small moments that can decide the outcome, win or lose. The Broncos weren't able to make those plays weeks 1 or 2 in those 2 combined losses by 3 points, but they made them on Sunday and got them a win.
Yeah. Well, Eric, we have to talk about Russell Wilson. I mean, what a performance by him. He finished the game with 133.5 quarterback rating. It was the highest QB rating for him as a Bronco.
Yeah, he was really good.
Yeah, he was.
And listen, I know the Bears had a lot of people out in the secondary, and obviously not the league's top-ranked defense by any means, but Russ went and did what you're supposed to do when you're playing guys who haven't been out there much before. And I thought, his on-the-field play was really good. I think back to the second, that final offensive touchdown drive of the game. He faced 3 third downs. He converts all of them, including a 3rd and 9 to Cortland Sutton, where he just throws a great ball into the end zone there. That was impressive. Has a nice throw to Marvin Mims to get the Broncos in field goal range. So those things were impressive. And then just his leadership. We've heard about that a lot since he's gotten here. Went over to the sideline when they're still down 14 points in the 4th quarter and saying, hey, guys, the Bears know we're going to win. I can see it in their eyes. And Cortland Sutton, Mike McGlinchey, they buy into that. Guys start believing again. Not that, they completely lost faith, but when you hear your quarterback who's done this so many times say, hey, we're going to win this football game, and I think you really start to buy in. He moved into the top 10 all-time in 4th quarter comebacks among quarterbacks.
Wow.
A great performance from Russell Wilson. And if you look at all these efficiency ratings across the league, he's near the top in all these categories. If you look at touchdown passes, yardage, quarterback rating, all those sorts of things, he's near the top of the league. This is the Russell Wilson I think everybody's been waiting to see.
Definitely. Eric, we saw the Broncos score on their opening drive like we've seen, 3 out of the 4 games so far this season. But we heard head coach Sean Payton talk earlier about how after following that drive, the offense kind of stalled a bit. They weren't able to find the end zone again until the end of the 3rd quarter. What do you think really sparked that change in offense? You mentioned Russell Wilson's leadership, but what was the key to changing things there?
Yeah, I think guys just started making plays. I think obviously the Bears being up a little bit, maybe they allow you to get some of these shorter passes, but Russ hung in there and made plays when he needed to. You saw guys like Cortland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy, Jaleel McLaughlin, Marvin Mims, they all stepped up and made plays. That's what you got to do when you're facing a deficit like that. And I think part of the issue earlier when you had the one drive where Marvin Mims fumbles the kickoff and you start back in the shadow of your own goal line, that drive, you never really get going. You've got another one where penalties played a big role. So I think when the Broncos were able to kind of stay out of their own way, for lack of a better word, they were able to find success. And you don't want to go that long between scoring drives, but I do think it speaks to the potential of this offense that when they get it going, they can get it going quickly.
Definitely.
And I don't know about you, Sid, but we were standing down there on the sideline, and I don't think there was any doubt that the Broncos were going to go down and get points after that 4th down stop.
It was pretty electric.
It was
down there.
It was fun.
It was. Well, Eric, you mentioned Jaleel McLaughlin. Just want to talk about him for a minute. He was really a bright spot, especially in the run game. He finished the game with over 100 scrimmage yards. I think he averaged over 10 yards per carry. I mean, he's just been so fun to watch this year. Yeah,
he's been a nice surprise, and we've been talking about him during training camp and in the preseason, but to see it translate to the regular season is really impressive. There's still areas they're going to work to get him in more. We'll see what Javonte Williams' status is. But I would imagine either way, Jaleel will get some more work. But Sean Payton talked about, I got to be smart with where I put him. You don't want to put him in bad situations. He mentioned kind of a pass blocking situation where Jaleel's asked to block a guy that's a fair amount
bigger than him.
So there's some situational things you got to be aware of. Jaleel, to his credit, just said, hey, they didn't put me in a bad situation. I've just got to be better. But bright spot. He's been really good. Marvin Mims, of course, again with the big play, and we've seen what he's done all season. There are some, it took maybe a little bit, but this offense, I think, is really starting to click. You're seeing these weapons, Cortland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy as well. Greg Dulcich sooner or later we would imagine would be back. So Russell Wilson's got some toys here to work with, and we'll just see if they can keep it going.
Looking at the defense, Eric, you mentioned the scoop and score earlier. That was certainly the shift in momentum this defense needed. They really look like a different unit out there following that. It seemed like things just clicked for them then.
Yeah, I mean, that was a huge play, and I think it was maybe 2 possessions before I tweeted, hey, this team needs a takeaway to win this game. And
you called it.
They got it. Well, it maybe manifested it.
Yeah.
They needed that. They got it.
Yeah.
It was a first fumble return for a touchdown since 2019 when Kareem Jackson had one. So it had been a little bit.
Yeah.
And typically when you have a big comeback, you need something like that to spark you. So yeah, it was a big play by Nick Bonito. I thought he had a really nice game. He's coming into his own. He looks kind of last year had his struggles. I know it wasn't the year he wanted, but in year 2, he's looked like a completely different player. So that was really good. I do think the drive before that, after the Broncos go down and cut it to 14, the Broncos are able to force a 3 and out and get the ball right back to the offense. Boom, they go score again. That was also a critical moment because even if you don't allow points on that drive, if they grind a bunch of clock down and time off the clock, you might not have time to complete the comeback. So that was kind of a sneaky, important drive there to force that 3 and out. Broncos then cut it to 7. You've got the scoop and score, and then again at the end of the game, that 4th and 1 opportunity where Alex Singleton knifes in there. Yeah. That's a play where you've got to have it. And I thought it was a gutsy call by the Bears. It surprised me a little bit, surprised both of us as we were heading down to the field. There. But it was a big play in the defense over those final 4 possessions. Really stepped up. I think the question now is, which defense is closer to what we see moving forward, and there's obviously a lot of things to clean up, fitting the run gaps correctly, making sure there's good communication on the back end. If you get Justin Simmons back, it obviously helps with that. But if you get a defense that can play even close to the way it did over the last 4 possessions, this team's going to be in pretty good shape. Yeah.
Eric, you just kind of touched on this, but I know head coach Sean Payton said he was really encouraged by the end of the game performance by both the offense and the defense, but they can't be content here. I mean, how do they keep this sense of urgency like we saw on Sunday?
Yeah, I think just watching the tape, they'll be able to stay pretty urgent because the first half, barring maybe the first possession on each side wasn't great. And then obviously it took till the third quarter to turn things around. I think, this is a prideful group, obviously. I think if defensively you watch the film, you realize there's a lot of things to clean up. Yeah. Offensively, too, I think from an offensive lineman perspective, these false starts were a big issue. That's something they've got to figure out. Sean Payton talked about the cadence and making sure they're all on the same page there. Yeah. Those things I think are enough to, to motivate you. And,
for sure.
Listen, a win is great. I think the message we'll hear later in the week is that a win doesn't mean a whole lot if you then go out and lose this weekend. So there's a lot of motivation to go out and get a victory. As we heard Garrett Bowles say, when this team plays together and plays complementary football, they can be really good. You've just got to see it for, an extended period of time. And as Sean Payton said, this team is going to play better teams than the Chicago Bears. And so you've got to look at that and say, hey, man, we were really resilient in how we came back and won this football game, but also kind of got away with one. And we got to play a lot better football to make sure that doesn't happen again, and to make sure that as you play some of these teams over the next month or so, I mean, the Chiefs twice, a really good Jets defense this weekend, a game in Buffalo, and then you don't want to discount anything the Green Bay Packers are doing. I mean, you're going to face some teams here that could get you if you play the way you did against Chicago. So I think there's a lot to motivate this team.
Definitely, and hopefully we'll see that momentum coming off that game for the rest of the week here as they head into another game at home versus the Jets this weekend. Eric, appreciate you coming on the show.
You got it, Sid.
Well, that'll do it for today's episode of Broncos Now. Broncos Country, thanks so much for tuning in. I'll meet you right back here on the Broncos Podcast Network and YouTube tomorrow for another episode. And Hall of Famer Steve Atwater will be joining the show, so if you have any questions for him, please drop them in the comment section below. I'll see you all then.